Hello. Welcome to We Are Crafted in His Image. Today I am going to share this card with you, and I'm actually not going to do the entire card, but I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how I made it. First off, this background paper, I used the alcohol technique where you take our blends and you scribble them on a piece of vellum, and then you drop some rubbing alcohol on it, and it causes the color to bleed and blend and move around on the paper, and you get this really cool like marbly effect. But I did that on vellum, and of course vellum is see-through and you can't see through this, because what I did was I then cut a piece of our adhesive sheets that was the exact size of my vellum. I adhered that to the back of the vellum and then adhered that to a piece of basic white cardstock. That way I had a nice white back behind it. You wouldn't see through it. But normally with vellum, if you use glue dots or if you use tape runner, the glue shows through the vellum, and I didn't want that. So that's why I used the adhesive sheets, and I got a nice designer series paper, basically my own pattern paper with the vellum and the cardstock. And so those were just cut out with using our stitched rectangles and then adhered up on dimensionals, and then of course this pretty tree trunk thing was put on top. But what I wanted to show you is how I got this image here on the inside. Now, if you stamp this image in the normal way of stamping, this is what it's going to look like. And you end up with it looking more like the tree and the branches are in front of the leaves. Like all the leaves are behind the tree rather than the branches being inside the leaves. So I want to show you how I got this. Grab a piece of cardstock here. Oh, and these are the colors that I used on my vellum background. Actually, I'll put all these on the blog, but those are the colors I used for that. And I'm going to go ahead. Here's my stem, my tree trunk stamp. I'm going to take some early espresso and I'm going to ink up the trunk, and then up here I'm going to like just dab a few areas with the ink. Now if you have a Stampin' Spot, this would be much easier because you have a little more control, or one of our markers, the Stampin' Write markers, not the alcohol blends. You do not want to use the blends directly on your stamps. It'll just stain and it won't stamp. But if you have the water base Stampin' Write markers, that would work great. But I'm just going to dab a few here and there. But if I were to stamp this is going to end up looking very blocky and blotchy, and you don't want that. You want it just to fade in and out of the branches. So I'm going to take, this is just a chamois, but you could use a paper towel, get it wet, and I'm just going to lightly like touch around and take off some of that ink, kind of try to soften some of the edges. There we go. And I think I might want a little bit more on this branch here. Whoops. I can't see the corner of my, oh, that's because I'm using the wrong end. Let me use this end here. There we go, a little bit there. And again, I'm going to soften up those edges just by touching that on there. And now I'm going to stamp this down. And you can see how the colors are kind of bleeding and blending out. They're not as pronounced. And then I'm going to take, this is the fuller of the leaf images. I'm going to stamp it in the Pale Papaya. And then I'm going to take a sponge dauber with some coral, and I'm just going to randomly stamp around some of this color. There we go. Stamp that again. See how that looks? And now I'm going to take my darker one here in the terracotta tile, and I think this one, I'm trying to think if I stamped it straight, I think, or if I stamped off first. Let me stamp on here and see how dark it is. Yep, I did stamp off. And then stamp it onto here. There we go. Now isn't that much nicer? I kind of like, you get variation in color, you get the branches peeking in and out of the leaves rather than all of them standing in the front. So I just wanted to show you that little tip on a great way to use this gorgeous stamp set and get a little bit more of a realistic image, okay? Until next time, God's love and blessings to you. Bye!